How long was Neil Armstrong actually on the moon? When did Europe start speaking English? Did Marco Polo really go to China? CuriosityStream is the streaming service for all things history, plus science, wildlife, and more. What's the real story behind the Mona Lisa? We've got that. What caused the collapse of Rome? We know. Where did we find mankind's earliest ancestor? Come find out. For the holidays, give the gift of curiosity with 25% off gift cards for your curious cohorts. It's holiday shopping season at curiositystream.com/gift.
Is higher than you might think. There are more and more reports of UFOs being made each year. Now, most are later identified, but some simply can't be easily explained.
If it was anybody getting above us, the pass was like 30 seconds ago.
Number 71 Papa Golf negative.
Okay. Something. It's a UFO. Yeah.
So the species who abducted me are called the tall whites, okay? Well, I mean, they're extremely tall, so I would say like, 8.5 feet tall, very skinny, very lanky, and extremely white, just like my shirt. And some of them have like dangly like pockets of hair, which is kind of funny. And then, and it's white hair, and then they have like tiny little beady red eyes. And they're only here on planet Earth for technology transfer, okay? So these are the species that are directly in communication with the US government for technology transfer. So they don't care about humanity's awakening. They don't care about what's really going on. They don't have any compassion towards humanity at all.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Beavers from The Theory, and you are listening to Alien Strand Podcast, the dopest UFO alien podcast out there. And if you want to find out about me, just go on YouTube and search UFOs over UFO or The Theory with Mike Beavers. Stay tuned, guys.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Don Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Hey, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's been a little bit, so I've been super busy. Does it ever stop for me? No. And the reason that it doesn't stop is because I don't know if a lot of you guys know about me, of what I do actually with Alien Strand. I do a lot of work with Alien Strand as far as getting the information out to you guys, just trying to put as much as information that's been floating out there for you, so that way you guys can pick up everything and share it with everybody, right? So I do that, right? And also, I have a small company called Led's Productions, right? So on Led's Productions, I am an amateur videographer and starting in cinematography, right? So I'm actually doing a lot of stuff, trying to make small little commercials, clips. So I did some spots for Alien Strand as well. So if you go on YouTube for Alien Strand, you'll see a couple of the little small little movies or promos that I did for Alien Strand. They're actually promotions. So they will see Alien Strand 1, 2, and 3 that I did last year. And that keeps me real busy, right? So I do that as well. And because I enjoy it. I enjoy doing stuff like that. That's my hobby. That's my passion, right? And as well as aliens, I am in a band, right? So I am a musician. I've been a musician for 30 years, and it just keeps me so busy, and I love playing music. I am a lead guitar player, right, in rock music, and that's what I do as well. So I play in a band. It's called COD, C period dot D with a hyphen and band. Check that out. It's like rock music if you like into just straight up rock, almost like a AC/DC, Judas Priest kind of feel. If you like that kind of music, I play in that band, and we did a few videos as well. So because of that, I keep myself super, super busy, right? But before we get going, I want to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast. You can catch us on 24 platforms out there. YouTube, Spotify, we're everywhere, right? So you can catch us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, alienstrand.com. Just check us out everywhere. We're even on Tumblr. So if you have a chance, go to those platforms and check out Alien Strand there. And, give us a little like, you know what I mean? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you listen to anything on these podcasts on any of these platforms like iHeart, Spotify, iTunes, just give us a heart and follow, right? So that way you can get the new podcasts that are coming out, right? And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can call us at 361-245-8000. Again, that's 361-245-8000. You want to be a guest on the show? You have a story, you have an abduction, anything you want to get off your chest, you want to spread it out to everybody in ufology or in the unknown, give me a call or go to the Facebook page there. And you'll see a call now button. Click that and that'll call me directly to my cell phone. Okay? So, there's a lot of things that have been going on this past couple of weeks, right? And the most strangest out of all of it was this monolith, right? That popped up, I guess, in Utah, correct? So a lot of people saw the video of the guys on a helicopter that were going by, and they happened to see this object on the ground. So when they landed, they went and check it out, right? We all know the news on it. And we just been looking at the stories go over and over and over. Was it a hoax? Maybe. Was it an artist just trying to get their art out there in a different kind of sense? Maybe. Or was it something else? I believe a story popped out on that, and I heard a gentleman, I believe it was on Third Phase of Moon, came out when that first video came out. And he claims that he saw something come down maybe about 50, 60 miles from there. And he said it looked like a large flash in the sky. And at the same time, he said it almost had like a controlled land look, but it wasn't a rocket. It had no bursts underneath. So he figures that maybe that monolith was a cover-up for something else. Could it have been? Possibly. But always that's for you to decide once you get the information that's been floating out there. And we'll later on know what's going on. Sometimes these things take a little while, right? But today's podcast, it's something that has happened in 1969 in Berkshire County in Massachusetts here in the United States. And this story has several stories looped into it, right? So that's what really grabbed my attention about this story. I first read it, I've heard it, I've seen it before on plenty of shows as well. I believe the story even came out on the new Netflix series, Unsolved Mysteries, right? So that grabbed my attention. But then when I started digging in a little deeper, I noticed that there's more to this story, right? Other than what you saw or heard on Netflix or wherever. So this happened on September 1st, 1969 in Berkshire County, Massachusetts. And the people that were involved in this story is Thomas Reed, who was 9 at the time, his brother Matt Reed, his mom, and his grandmother, right? And this incident was also witnessed by at least 40 other people. And that's what makes this story even more interesting, right? So the first sighting was September 1st, same evening, 1969, in Sheffield, in the southern part of Berkshire. This was by the witnesses. They saw this. They saw these lights. They saw strange lights descending on the town that evening. Many said that these lights were attached to a UFO. They said it was a disc-like shape that performed acrobatic maneuvers in the sky above Berkshire, right? So I guess it was just flipping and up and down, zigzagging possibly. This was witnessed by all these people. And this town is actually south of Highway 23 on Town Hill Road near Gilder Pond. It's like woodsy farmland area. And it's by Otis State Forest. So you're going to notice that in these areas, there's going to be a lot of brush, a lot of forestry, big trees, lakes. It's beautiful country out there. So some witnesses of the UFO encounter, they describe loss of time as well, right? I've talked about this in the past. People lose time right away when they're in front of these objects, witnessing them, or even in these crafts. So the next day at the school, they said the children were drawing UFOs in the class, right? This is almost like the podcast before this one. And then the radio station there, it says calls came in and what people saw. So David Izzy, he's the general manager there at the radio station of WSBS, says at the time they didn't know it was a UFO. They just, called to say something bizarre happened. So right before this story gets going, it was already witnessed by a lot of people in the area. Calling into the radio station, wondering what it was. Remember, it's 1969. So on our main story, we have Thomas Reed, who said, on September 1st, 1969, he was 9 at the time, while in the car with my mother, grandmother, and brother, they said we witnessed this UFO. Reed recalls that the family was heading home from their restaurant, Village on the Green. So they had like a small restaurant in the area by that pond. that their mom owned. He said at the time he was giving his little brother a Fireball candy. And suddenly, they noticed a mass of glowing light peeking out behind the lush of trees on an empty road. He says the light continued to spill out behind the trees. He says it was a self-contained glow. He says it rose up a little bit, following an open road. He said the light came through the car as we were in an open clearing out of the brush. He said the light was so intense, it was flooding inside the car. Imagine that. Super bright in there, so they couldn't see anything. It was just so bright, intense. He says, after the amber glow emerged on both sides of the car, he recalls being taken to a hangar that was bigger than a football field. Reed said, we encountered something. It was definitely not of this world. He said, we had black and white TVs at the time. And inside this craft, the imagery was so unbelievable. He said the lights looked like fluorescent tubing inside like this, like a hangar. He said this hallway we had seen was circular with the Y configuration, almost to control the flow of traffic, right? So by the way he's describing, they're inside of a disc shape craft, which is huge, because almost the hallway goes in a complete circle, but with a Y in the middle, which indicates that there's a place in the center. He says one room had rounded in the wall. He said that design, we would never seen that in 1969 or anywhere else at the time. He says, I have no idea what it was, but I know what we saw was very different than anything I've ever seen today, 50 years later. So, glimpses of this place, it muddled his mind, while he realized they were back inside the car. This time his grandmother and his mom switched seats. So when he opened his eyes and realized they were back in the car, his mom and his grandmother were on the opposite sides. He said, more astonishingly, there were no more glowing lights, so they were gone. He said everything was real calm. There was a change, like a barometric pressure. He said it was just like dead silence, right? So then,
Wake up at Holiday Inn Express to a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. Count on all the hot, fresh coffee you need and an incredible breakfast buffet that has something for everyone, like eggs, cinnamon rolls, and even hot, fresh pancakes with all the toppings you crave. Next time, do yourself a favor and stay at a Holiday Inn Express with a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. So, when you wake up at Holiday Inn Express, you'll wake up happy. A part of IHG Hotels and Resorts.
There was an eruption of crickets, frogs, and it got really, really loud. And Thomas Reed has been the person to talk about this incident the most out of all of them. Because after that, nobody said anything, not a word about it anymore. Just what they experienced that night. And if you look him up on the internet, his name will pop up everywhere, but nobody else's will. He's the one that made the story and got the story out there to everybody. But this story continues with his brother Matt. So some years later, on March 30th, 2009, Matt was driving through the suburbs of West Indiana to his home after going to a movie with a friend. At the time, they went to go see the movie The Watchmen. And this is the last memory he had. He says, I dropped off a friend a little over 10:30 p.m. And then I drove through a darkness in the road. He says, an orange ball of light appeared over the road and shot off to the south and dipped behind a house. He says, then I remember myself climbing back into the parked vehicle with a bloody nose, muddy shoes, and loss of time. So he looked down at his watch and noticed that it was stuck on 10:30 p.m. But on this watch, he had an LED numerals as well. He said on the LED, it showed that it was after midnight, which put him in about 1 hour and 32 minutes of lost time. So at that point, he turned the vehicle on, floored it past the stop sign, and sped the remaining 2 miles back home. At this time, his mom was living with him at home. So when he got inside, he found his mom in a chair in her room watching TV. He sat on the edge of the bed. He seemed confused and frightened. He says, "Mom, I think it's starting again." You know, at this time, Matt believes he was abducted by extraterrestrials, as like 40 years before. You know, they had really never talked about any of this. You know, he, prior to this incident, you know, he moved to central Indiana in 1996. He had a job with a racing team. He had a house built. He was married, had 2 sons. Standard middle-class lifestyle, right? But later he did divorce, which his mom moved in to keep him company. You know, and Matt wrote, he says, beyond that, I have no logical explanation. In short, I was like to be put to sleep before surgery, right? He says, 1 minute you're looking up at the doctor and the lights. Next thing you're in recovery. That's what he experienced in that loss of time. And he says the difference between that was I wasn't sleepy or groggy like after surgery. You know, even before their encounter that they had in 1969 while they were children, they had prior encounters as well, but never spoke about it. But Matt did. He says in a past experience, he says, Thomas and I were in a large exposed rock. They went to go check it out in their yard, right? They had a big lot or a couple of acres there, right? So they went to go check out this rock in the corner of the property. He says to the right there was a clearing, and then they saw like a wishbone shape. And there was a big tree. They said behind it, there was an enormous spaceship. He says it looked like sleek gunmetal, and it had like a tortoise shell at the time. You know, they remember being in a large room with a wide screen in front of them. They saw humanoid figures, but smaller. They said, we sat at a bronze table and we watched images of beautiful green hills on a sunny day. That was their past experience. And they had another one in 1967. He says, we saw a bright light from our bedroom window. He says, all of a sudden, suddenly, they were upside down and tumbling like they were caught in an ocean wave. It's like being caught up in an undertow, he says. All of a sudden, they were being led through a door. To his right, he saw two figures take his brother to a separate passage. When the episode was over, they found themselves outside in the yard on the ground. At that time, Matt's mom scooped them up and says, "It's okay. They're gone." Then took them inside. Now, at this point, you figure that if the mom told him that in 1967 after the second encounter, that something had been happening to them. She even expresses that in Matt's story. It's a really, really long story that he has, but he gets into real detail. He also says that his mom had visions of she thought were demons at the time when she was younger. being taken? Could she have realized what these things actually were? But couldn't understand exactly what they were, because this is 1969. Remember, Betty and Barney Hill's story had just been maybe 3 years prior to that. 4. They had an idea of extraterrestrials and UFOs, but not so much. Remember, they didn't have internet, barely had a landline, nobody had cell phones. So these are the things that their mom experienced as well. Now, had all these incidents been passed on through the generations as I spoke about in my past podcasts, about it going from generation to generation? Just like Elena's story. I have a podcast with her on her encounter, what she remembers, what her grandmother told her, almost exact same way. Knowing that they were there and knowing that they come back. Matt didn't understand these things that were happening. He knew that something had happened. He just didn't understand them. A lot of times, we kind of forget about those things as children. And it's almost like a blank slate, right? Like we're starting over on new memories to overcome the old. You know, a lot of people do remember traumatic memories. They remember good memories. As you get older, those are the things that you'll remember the most.
Wake up at Holiday Inn Express to a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. Count on all the hot, fresh coffee you need and an incredible breakfast buffet that has something for everyone, like eggs, cinnamon rolls, and even hot, fresh pancakes with all the toppings you crave. Next time, do yourself a favor and stay at a Holiday Inn Express with a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. So, when you wake up at Holiday Inn Express, you'll wake up happy, a part of IHG Hotels and Resorts.
Could have they been exposed because of their gene pool, right? We all know that these Greys, extraterrestrials, they do these experiments on us, right? To make hybrids. These could have been the good Greys. We know because they came back. Not once, not twice, 3 times. Are they using their blood to clone another species? Maybe. You know, like I said, I've talked about this before. His brother, at the very beginning of this story, they made a monument there in Berkshire. I believe they put it up on 2015. And he got sponsors to make this monument, to have people remember on what exactly happened to them, right? This is Thomas Reed. So, the monument was up for about maybe 3 years. And then the people of the town were making kind of like a stink about it, as they thought that it was just bringing too much attention to the town, and they didn't want no part of it. So they had the monument removed in 2019. He also made a little museum about it, about their abduction. so people can visit. Later on, the mom did talk about it. I believe the grandmother only mentioned it one time. That was it. Which I'm glad that they did. Because we're able to get this story out to you guys, right? And it's a real good story. Even though we didn't get as many details as we wanted in the beginning of the story of what they encountered exactly and what exactly they saw. But Matt's stories as well have a very detailed explanation of what he saw. It does not say that they got regression therapy. So apparently these are memories that are coming back. And I've talked about this before. Little by little, even Betty Hill, she said it herself. You don't have to force these memories to come back to you. They just will. Even if you don't get, regression therapy to bring them out. They just come back little by little. Little by little, you start remembering things. You start getting flashes of the craft, the extraterrestrials, what you saw, what they did to you, or what they showed you. One day we are going to know exactly what these Greys want. Exactly. There's a lot of controversial stories out there, about it. Hypothetical as well. It's like a big guessing game. So in ufology, you have to dig and dig and dig and match up the stories. Because a lot of times, these stories will just throw you in so many different directions in which you're trying to get the answer. And here at Alien Strand, I have gotten the answers on a lot of these stories, and I've put a lot of these stories together on exactly what happened to these people and why. I put two and two together. A lot of times these puzzles just come together little by little. But it's just like I've talked about before. It's like throwing a box of puzzles of 1,000 pieces on the table, and you got to figure it out. So once you start matching up all the pieces of the puzzle, like ufology, you start getting a bigger picture, right? As far as the abductions, these crafts, what they're made of, why are they here, how long have they been coming here? What is their agenda exactly? What do they want? There's a lot of questions that are unanswered. But little by little, we're starting to figure them out. And with your help in sharing a lot of these stories, we can figure these out together. And that's why I put these stories out for you guys. Not just for myself to figure out exactly what it is and dig and dig. Because a lot of times when we go to the search a UFO story, right? You're going to get one small story. And then you're going to get another small story. You won't get the whole big picture until you dig to 10 or 15 of them. Until you find the exact one that's going to match exactly right. And that's investigating in ufology. And I hope you guys do that as well. Share these stories. Share the videos, not just from Alien Strand, but from other groups as well. I mean, Alien Strand is not a group. It's a webpage to get the information out to you and to others. Is Alien Strand making any money out of this? No. I do this because I love what I do. And I love doing ufology and getting this information out to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. You can listen to us on 24 platforms now. It's like to add a new one every month, which is great. I love that. Because we get to get the information out, not just in the United States, but man, we're like in 10 countries. We're all over the place. And everybody's just spreading it out. If you like this podcast, hit a like there. Hit a heart. Follow us. You can even download the Alien Strand Podcast app on Google Play. And it's free. You don't got to pay nothing out of pocket, even to join. All you got to do is sign up. It's free. And when a new podcast comes out, you'll be the first one to get it on your Android device. All right. So I really enjoyed getting this story out to you guys. Thank you for waiting and sticking around. Please share. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, alienstrand.com, Twitter, Tumblr. We're all over. But until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Hi, this is Kelly Green with Realty Executives, Coastal Bend in Corpus Christi, Texas. And you're listening to the Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma. Buying or selling, visit me at kellygreenrealtor.com or visit me on my Facebook page, Kelly Green Realtor. See you there.
And it was anybody in front above us, the pass was like 30 seconds ago.
There's 71 Papa Golf negative.
Something. A UFO. Yeah.
How long was Neil Armstrong actually on the moon? When did Europe start speaking English? Did Marco Polo really go to China? CuriosityStream is the streaming service for all things history, plus science, wildlife, and more. What's the real story behind the Mona Lisa? We've got that. What caused the collapse of Rome? We know. Where did we find mankind's earliest ancestor? Come find out. For the holidays, give the gift of curiosity with 25% off gift cards for your curious cohorts. It's holiday shopping season at curiositystream.com/gift.